Hi, I'm Andy Collins, principal with the McCormick Group in our Law and Government Relations practice. I'm here with my partner, Steve Nelson, who heads the group. This is number 2 in our series. The last time we talked to you about establishing your own mental shopping list for looking around at other firms. Today, we're going to talk about the metrics and data that you're going to need to collect in order to do that. Steve is going to take you through that discussion, and hopefully we'll have some things of benefit. Steve?
Thank you, Andy. So once again, we are going to be focused on collecting documentation for your practice. And a good place to start is your partnership agreement. That's going to be something that you really want to look at because they may have some restrictions with regard to your ability to move, and including what is the impact of your capital account? How long will it take to get paid that, etc. But it also may have things like notice periods. We just saw a case today in the press where a group from a major Texas firm had to wait 90 days before moving to another firm because of a provision in their partnership agreement. And we're seeing more and more of that as we go along. So that's something that you want to take a look at, in addition to just making sure you understand your own partnership agreement.
Yeah. If you're like most lawyers, you probably haven't looked at it again since you signed it on the day you started. So it's a good idea to kind of take it out, brush it off, have a look at it, because even as you go through the process, if you're made another offer, you're going to be offered another partnership agreement, and you'll want to know how the two compare in any event.
Right. So then you want to look at what we call data and metrics. And this is the information that your firm keeps on a regular basis about your practice. That includes hours, your billing rate, your billings by dollar in terms of what you bill yourself on your own time, but also originations. That's the value of what you've brought into the firm, whether or not you've actually billed it yourself. But there are other categories as well that a lot of firms are going to have, and you've got to look at what your firm in fact keeps, one of which is managed billings. Some firms keep that record, which covers what you do when you are taking work and spreading it around to other folks, but you're supervising it, and therefore you get the value of that, even though you may not have generated the client. Also, there's realization, and that's an important topic, and a lot of firms have different ways of looking at it. So you really have to understand what your firm means by realization. Usually, historically, that has meant basically the percentage of your billings that are collected. It's, usually a pretty standard number. However, firms are looking at this differently, and they're starting to look at write-downs that you might have incurred before you billed the client because the client wasn't happy with the amount of hours. Therefore, that may be included in your realization rate and in fact would lower that rate. So you really have to understand, what those numbers really mean.
And understand that lots of firms call this lots of different things, but I think those categories pretty much apply across the board. You want to go back and get a 3-year look at all of those numbers so you can see what the trends are in your own practice. And don't forget non-standard fees. If you are doing anything on flat rate, if you're doing anything on a negotiated rate, or if you are doing anything on contingency, then you'll want to understand how much of that work you're doing in your practice, what the percentages and the impact are. And then add to that the idea of sort of graphing out, if you will, as a pie chart, the areas of your practice. What are the various services that you offer, and what percentage of your total practice would that be? And again, look at it over the last 3 years. Has it changed? Is it pretty stable? Or, have you seen a trend in it? Is something going up, something's going down? Do you see where the market is going? You'll want to make sure that you understand the impact of those things on your data and metrics as well.
Right. So finally, the last thing that we want to look at is compensation and benefits, and really get a good handle on all of the elements of compensation and benefits that apply to you. So that includes your base salary, your draw if you have one, any kind of distributions. Some of them are quarterly, at some firms they're yearly, etc. And you want to look at all of that in addition to looking at any kind of deferred compensation, 401k, profit sharing, anything else that goes into your compensation side. Plus, you want to take a look at your benefits. You want to look at your benefit package. You want to look at what you really value, any kind of special situations. Want to get a good look at what your benefits are now so you can compare them to another firms. At the same time, with benefits is that there are many firms that pay for virtually all of your benefits, even at the partner level, where other firms will not. And so therefore you could get into an apples and oranges situations because the firms look at those benefits differently.
And so it behooves you to understand, exactly what they are. So we're asking you to accumulate all of this information now because in the course of interviewing, you're likely to be given a nice big fat document called a Lateral Partner Questionnaire that's going to ask for all of this information. And it's better to have it up front than to have to scramble for it at the last minute. And besides that, we think it's always a good idea for you to understand your own metrics and what's behind the value of your practice. When we come back to you again, we're going to be doing a feature on how do you establish your value and what is the return on investment that a firm gets when they get you. That's all for now.
All right, thank you very much and see you next time.
See you next time.